Hey, I'm Chelsea, and this is my Module 5 video. So the first thing is briefly summarize the responsibilities you have to students with disabilities as a classroom teacher. To start off, I have a quote that says, "Special educators have the responsibility to offer not just good instruction, but instruction that's highly individualized, intensive, relentless, urgent, and goal-directed," meaning that instruction of these students will have to be altered and the curriculum catered to their needs so that it provides them with the educational experience that they are entitled to, but also provides it to them in a manner that better ensures their success. Teachers also have the responsibility to provide proper and consistent documentation, especially concerning like their IEPs and behavior and progress. Keeping good and complete records is really important because it allows teachers to see patterns of behavior in their academic progress. Teachers also have the responsibility to recommend evaluation or re-evaluations for students that they believe need special education. It's important to remember that written parental consent must be obtained for an initial evaluation, and the school system must obtain informed consent for a re-evaluation unless it has made reasonable efforts to obtain such consent and the parent has failed to respond, which is from your Classroom Guide to Special Education Law. Another thing is that when there's a paraprofessional in the classroom, it's up to the teacher to make sure that the para is fulfilling their intended role and that the student is not becoming solely dependent and socially interactive with just their para. They're also tasked with the responsibility of proper and open communication with teachers, parents, administrators, and others involved in their education process to ensure that they receive a proper education and supports, but they must follow confidentiality rules as well. And proper professional development is also key to a teacher's responsibility to providing effective and up-to-date instruction. The next question is, how are the responsibilities for special educators similar to those of general education teachers, and how are they different? So in being similar, they're expected to make maximum effort to accommodate individual students' needs, meaning that they provide flexibility, adaptation, accommodation, and special attention, which is from page 36 of the book. They're expected to evaluate academic abilities and disabilities because they're in the classroom with a student and report specifically about their strengths and weaknesses. They're expected to refer students for evaluation, to participate in eligibility conferences concerning their students' eligibility for special ed, to participate in writing IEPs for students, to communicate with parents or guardians concerning eligibility for special ed, forming IEPs, and reassessment of special programs. And they're expected to participate in due process hearings and negotiations when it's brought about that there is dissatisfaction with the education being provided, and they're expected to collaborate with other professionals in identifying and making maximum use of exceptional students' abilities. They're different in that special education teachers are expected to have further knowledge in some areas. So they have to be sufficient in instructing students with learning problems using evidence-based practices, which would be technical skills in introducing material so that students with disabilities will understand and respond appropriately. They also have to be skilled at managing serious behavior problems in an effective manner. They have to be able to draw out particularly withdrawn students, control those who are hyper-aggressive and persistently disruptive, and teach critical social skills, which is from page 37. They have to evaluate technical, logical advances in order to provide appropriate and effective assistive technology and have extensive knowledge of special education law. So the last question is, how will you approach the responsibilities and the many others associated with a career in education to ensure that the expectations related to them will be met? So in my opinion, one of the biggest keys to keeping up with these responsibilities and meeting expectations is making sure that you stay organized, which is involved in like the actual education of the student, communicating with parents, keeping proper documentation, all that sort of stuff, doing proper research and making sure that I'm well versed in instruction techniques and assistive technologies that I'll have to use or that I can make available to students so that they receive a more effective and expected education. I also liked the mention of creating forms to constantly have on hand concerning parent phone calls, requests for evaluation, and like just having personal logs concerning their behavior and progress. And continuing professional development is also really important to me because I know that education and learning is a continuous process. It's constantly changing, and especially for teachers because we're intended to constantly be able to provide the most up-to-date and proper and most effective education experience for students. And then my personal question is, which responsibility that teachers have do you find the most difficult to keep up with and fulfill the expectations that come along with that? Thanks.